5. I'd like confirmation of the agenda, please.
So moved.
Actually, I would like to add an item to in camera, please. I guess we'll call it 14.3.
14.3.
I'm missing a page. Oh, there we go.
Thank you, Councillor Montgomery. Are there any other additions to the agenda?
Excuse me, point of order.
Yes.
What section of FOI would we be going in camera?
It's going to be a personnel matter.
Okay.
Any other additions? Councillor Peterson?
To move the agenda as amended, Your Worship.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. We don't have any presentations or recognitions today, so we'll go on to delegations. I believe we don't have any delegations. 5.1, confirmation of minutes. Minutes of the May 16th, 2018 regular council meeting. Can I have somebody move the minutes? Councillor Cox, thank you very much. Minutes of the May 29th. All in favor? Minutes of the May 29th, 2018 special council meeting. That's on page 9 of your package.
I would so move, Your Worship.
Thank you.
I would just like to add a note that special council meeting, for the sake of our public, was just to, we had a resolution going to AUMA regarding dialysis, and we needed to fix some of the wording because it was time sensitive and had to be sent to the province for approval. So that's why we met, and two of the councillors, Councillor Bauer and myself, or Deputy Mayor Bauer and myself, were in that meeting by phone. So just so the public understands.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. All in favor of accepting those minutes? Okay. And now the tabled items. We don't have any for today. Items from administration, 7.1, Council Committee Appointment, Seniors Advisory Committee. We have 2 people. And who's going to speak on that?
I move, Your Worship, that council appoint Miss Lynn Fair and Miss Linda Storkson to the Seniors Advisory Committee, a term ending October 31st, 2018.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. All in favor? Carried. Next item. Street lights installed along West Ridge Road, page 14 of your package. Thank you. Mr. Rio, are you speaking on that?
I am. Make sure I got the right item. Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Tonight I'm bringing forth back some information requested by Council. Back in March, we brought forward the dog light budget to ask to add 2 lights along Wildflower Road, and that was accepted by Council. Council asked at the time if we could add on the lights along West Ridge Road from Westmount all the way over to the WIDA Canal. And we went and got some pricing from Fortis. And the pricing for that came in, the total estimate of the project is $170,000. After the investment by Fortis, it'd be about $129,000. Those costs are all budgetary, they're not actual detailed design. And when they provided us a rough figure of what it would look like. Based on the dollar amount and the fact that we do not have the budget, we are recommending that the council consider this in their 2019 or further budgeting years if they'd like to go ahead with this. And at this time, we don't think it's urgent that it has to be done right now, but it can be if council wishes to allocate unallocated funds. And that concludes my report.
Any questions, councillors? Councillor Montgomery?
Is there anything on the horizon that we could combine that with, do you think?
There may be some combination with that with the cemetery master plan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where they're at with that in terms of electrical, so that would be the one thing that you can combine it with.
Okay.
One of the concerns they had is we have curb on the one side and no curb on the other side. And normally they have to go right behind the curb, but where we normally would, that's where they have the Telus line. So they'd have to find a spot for it. So that's why that price could be a little bit higher or lower depending on the final design. And I think that's also, when we get the cemetery master plan, I think it's more appropriate as well, because then we know exactly what we're planning to do there if there's some cost savings.
Are you aware of, because I'm under the impression that the cemetery master plan didn't include electrical, so has that been looked at yet?
I'm not sure where Jennifer and that team has got that at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Cox?
So just for unpractical purposes, do we have to have that many?
No, we don't necessarily have to have that many. That's their recommendation based on our current lighting standard. We could drop to a lower lighting standard, just like we've done on Wildflower, where we don't have that many. We just put temporary ones up. This was looking at for the ultimate permanent, meeting our town what we currently do in our town. Again, this is preliminary. We could knock it down a little bit as well. I mean, sometimes that's nicer to have a lower light levels.
Well, especially because there's only housing on the one side, correct? So.
But I understand, my direction to them was council's concerned about people walking on the street and for safety. So that was the direction I gave to Fortis.
Yeah, we could take it down.
I just think,
Yep, smart.
let's go half of it,
Yeah.
even, per se. Take out 5. I don't know.
For the future.
We can definitely bring that.
Significant cost savings for taking out 5?
Yeah, basically, I think there's 14 streetlights divided
Yes,
by
there is.
$170,000. That kind of gives you a per streetlight cost. There's a little bit for the length of wire, but that's minor compared to the poles.
Yeah.
So generally, that's how we do it. I was thinking there'd be about $10,000 to $15,000 a pole, right? But we can bring that, when we bring that forward on a budget item, we can definitely
Take a look. Yeah.
bring down the different options.
Yeah, I would, well, and then I would take it down some, and then could we not, also have some kind of a cost for temporary ones as well? I think we need them up there. So the sooner we get them up there, the better. I don't think waiting for another year.
The problem with the temporary ones, that they work well if we have power poles, right? We don't have power poles, I believe, on that length, right? So that's where we run the temporary, or else you're basically creating the same amount of money to go
Okay.
with the temporary.
Well, I personally think we need to cut it down a bit and get it up sooner.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Councillor Corbeil?
I was going to make a motion, actually. I move that council authorize the project to be brought forward for consideration in the 2019 capital program through the budgeting process. But
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item on the agenda is 7.3, the George Freeman Trail Pathway. And I believe it'll be Mr. Riot again? No?
Excuse me.
Pardon me?
Your worship, may I speak through the chair?
Yes.
Thank you. So there's more information, and we wanted to give council a chance to look at all of it, so we pulled it off till June the 13th. So thank
So we'll
you.
go on to 7.4 then. Thank you, Mr. Thackeray. Downtown Accessibility Plan.
I'm not a Ryan here, so I gotta get myself settled. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. And for those at home, Councillor Sobel is in Newfoundland, and our Mayor Pat Fuel is in Canmore this evening, and he's asked me, Lorraine Bauer, to chair the meeting tonight. So thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Your Worship. Administration is bringing forward what we like to call the downtown accessibility plan. With our aging population and our aging infrastructure, there's an opportunity to improve the accessibility of our downtown and have a holistic look at we've been doing Second Avenue and Third Avenue and doing that on an individual, but we want to bring forward to council the overall look and feel of the downtown. The master plan of the downtown will basically outlines the future handicap parking placement, future curb drops placement. So curb drops are where you're able to get from the street to the sidewalk. So when you cross on a crosswalk, that's what we're calling curb drops, trying to distinguish them between just a handicap parking stall. Discussion about the signs and graphics and optics of those handicap places, and design considerations. So what we did is, in 2000, we looked at the Google Street View, actually, technology here, and we came up with what our handicap access was in 2006. So we identified handicap parking stalls with ramps, handicap parking, handy bus parking stalls, privately handicapped parking, and also handicap parking on the street that didn't have ramps. This is not 100% complete because obviously we're using Google Street View to find, so we may have missed one or two. But the intent here was to really give a sense of what we had before we started any of the upgrades downtown, because it's a great starting point. It's easier for me to read off the maps here as well. What we are proposing through the upgrade of the downtown is to make almost all the handicap parking spots with ramps. We're going to add additional ones, specifically the ones we've already added on Second, the ones we are going to be adding on Third, and the ones we will add in addition when we do Phase 3 and Phase 4 of the downtown update, if those go ahead, or when they go ahead. So the ultimate plan will increase the total number of wheelchair street parking from 33 stalls in 2016 to an ultimate of 43 stalls, which represents approximately a 25% increase. Based on a barrier-free design and the approximate 560 stalls that we have in the downtown areas mapped out here in red, it's recommended between 9 to 21. Now, when I say 9 to 21 handicap stalls, it's how you break it up. Because if you break it up by 560 as one parking area, then you need 9. If I break it out by street, then I need 21. So that's where the variance comes from. So it's not a solid number.
Sorry, Mark, can I interrupt you? I just had a question about that. So we're going to be increasing by 25% from 33 to 43, even though the recommended amount is a max of 21?
We're going, it's not, sorry, I thought that was 20. Sorry, I thought that was 20, between 9 to 20. I believe that, that 33 and 43 represents the total, there's a little error there, that's the total number including private. So we're looking at the 9 to 21 is relevant. I think we're at 23 total is what we're proposing on street. So the 560 is representative 560 on street parking. And these numbers got mixed up in the chart, unfortunately. So,
Okay.
so there's 560, based on 560, if we had a parking lot with 560, we'd need 900. If we had, we'd need 9, right? If we had 560 separated into 5 parking lots, we'd need 21.
Okay.
And we're proposing 23,
Okay.
right? Once we add the ultimate. I'm sorry, I thought I brought my other speaking notes with the actual details behind that. Maybe it's in my slides. The other item that we looked at was where do we have curb drops or ramps in the town? And you can see that currently in the ones in blue, where there's 57 of them, and we're ultimately adding another 19. Most of those will be added by the end of this year. There will be, I think, 5 to 7 left to be done in phases 3 and 4. So this is the chart I was looking for. So the handicap parking stalls, the existing was 13, and we're proposing 24, a 45%. This is on-street parking lot. The private stalls were 20 and 20. We haven't seen an increase in that. So that's where the 33, 44. So the 560, we did not count the parking on private property when we came up with that. And that 560 is approximate because when you're dealing with some of those residential streets, they're just parallel parking and you're just trying to do it by space. So one of the other issues that has come up, and we'd like some guidance from council, is options on painting. So currently, we paint a single white line on each side and a handicap white spot. Other municipalities look at painting blue with a white, makes it more visible. But one of the things that barrier-free design talks about is the more paint you put on, the more slippery it can get. So you have a chance of adding more slip hazards to people that are already having mobility issues. So they recommend to have the minimum amount of paint on the surface. So one of the options, so the one with what we have now clearly identifies it. The only issue is, are we having a problem with people mistaking that they're parking in a handicap stalls? Option 2 would be to not only paint something on the ground, but put a sign up. And I think council has been directing us to do this. And we were looking at that something we really need we want that as a standard. That every time we have a handicap stall, we have it painted on the ground and a sign. Or right now there is no standard for the town of what constitutes a handicap. Do we just put a sign up and it's a handicap with no painting on the ground? Does that make it a handicap? Do we just put a handicap symbol in the ground and no sign? Does that make it a handicap? These are the questions we're going with. Option 3 would be what we're also talking about in the downtown area is not only painting on the ground, putting a sign, but also giving a ramp, a let down, to allow people to come up and down from the street to the curb. And so that's just the difference of options for that. The other recommendation is we currently have a stall of about 3.7 meters wide. Our standard stall is about 2.6, 2.7, depending on which one we go downtown or the regular, 2.6 meter wide. So a handicap would be 3.7. We're also suggesting that there could be an option where if you had a handicap side by side and you had a space in between, a meter and a half space, you could reduce that down to 2.6 and just have it shared. You could have a shared one as another option. So these are kind of what we're looking for, and what we're really looking for from council on that is we believe we understood what you want, but I want to make sure that we're clear as the infrastructure group what is expected of a handicap stall. So when we put this into the standards, that it will meet what the community would like. And with this, we hope that if we can properly notify that the public that this is a handicap stall, increase the number of them, add the wheelchair ramps, add the let-downs at the intersections to make sure that people can get around the downtown. We will have an accessible downtown for people for our seniors and also for people with mobility issues. if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Councillor Corbeil?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it's a step in the right direction. It's a huge thing. Accessibility is huge. With the mistaken, like people parking in the handicap stalls, I've heard actually quite a few people who have, and they've actually moved because they didn't notice it. They just didn't notice the white paint, and the signs are really high. They're not at eye level when you're in your vehicle. I didn't know if we could even paint the sidewalk, something to strip it, if it was too slippery to paint maybe blue on the sidewalk or something to make it more visible that it's a handicap stall. I actually saw a post the other day of a handicap vehicle where the wheelchair ramp was on the passenger door and someone parked really close. So obviously they can't get in. And I can't even imagine how frustrating it is. I know how frustrated I was even just when I was a mom and you have the baby carriers or whatever and people would park too close so I couldn't open the door to put that in, let alone a wheelchair, right? I think that's being very creative if you're going to share. I think it would give more room, and like I say, I think it's a huge step in the right direction. I would like to see everything like the paint, the signs, the wheelchair accessible. I think that'd be great.
Councillor Montgomery?
Thank you, Your Worship. Mark, what is the threshold for like bylaw or somebody to write a ticket? Do they have like kind of a rule as to what designates something as handicapped?
So,
Like if I park in a spot and there's only a sign, but nothing painted on the ground, or if there's something painted on the ground but no sign, like what is their, I guess, threshold for saying this is a handicap spot, or is there one?
the community standard.
Okay.
So,
Okay. And so with the letdowns, like you'd be like, you're not talking about changing existing sidewalk to that. You're just talking about anything we do in the future. Okay.
except for where I've marked on the plan where, like on First Avenue, you'll see that I put a letdown across if you go north on 3rd Street, there I put we will be cutting in when we do phase 3. I'd actually get them to cut into the existing sidewalk to get that in. Because there's no way someone can get up
Yeah.
3rd from there. They have to go all the way down the block, all the way down that doesn't.
It's worth it.
So for the most part, where we put, going forward, when council comes to infrastructure or administration, say we would like a parking stall on the street here, what that will mean we will not just simply go put a sign up and paint a thing. We'll go there and make sure that there is a letdown so people can get up from the curb. So this is kind of the going forward, right? So we don't want to be, because I think in the past what happened was we want a wheelchair ramp here, and the administration said, sure, we'll go slap a sign up and we're fine. It's a wheelchair spot, but they don't necessarily add a ramp. So we're looking, we're hoping that's the direction that we want to get consistency is what we're trying to do. And Second Avenue, yeah, we're doing. So there is a few where we have, where they are shown on here, these will all be ramped on this map, on the ultimate wheelchair map. It might not happen this year, but it will happen eventually, once through council's blessing of the downtown upgrades or when we update the streets. So if we go up to First Avenue and council next year decides that they really want First Avenue to be overlaid and the concrete be done, we would do it at that time.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Peterson?
Thank you, Your Worship. I like your maps. Planning and development, I know, is very excitable at the best of times, but their use of the word ultimate made me laugh. It does exceed my expectations, and I just want to, this will remove eventually 19 parking spots, correct?
19 parking stalls.
Like regular parking stalls. It'll convert.
Yeah.
One of the things I guess that I'm uncertain, where I have uncertainty, I'm not a downtown business person. I'm a downtown denizen, but not a downtown person, a business person. So I don't know what I don't know in terms of that. So I don't know if it's part of a consultation process or give it to the chamber for a few weeks to let them consult with their people. I don't know about the advisability of that, and I would defer to planning and development on that matter. But the idea of losing those 19 stalls to handicap, my preference has always been to think about courtesy. The ramps are critical. I love the idea. That really meets the expectations. It fits in with the work that we were doing about becoming an accessible community, and I think that's really important. We talked about courtesy signs, so that we can maybe balance that off, and I don't know whether that would be viewed, as more conducive to enhancing downtown business, because I don't want to restrict that. And I think, this could be an issue. And, in terms of I have a son who says he can hardly wait till he can have a handicap sign so he can park his dually, in a handicap spot, because he can't park it downtown now. And so, but courtesy, when Mel references, we're a community where 25% of our population is senior and 25% of our population is under 35. I think that's a consideration. It's a balancing act, so consideration for seniors and for parents, for young parents. I think that has some viability, something to think about in terms of doing courtesy parking. And in my limited understanding, they've been pretty successful in other municipalities, in doing that. And in terms of the ramps, the reason that I'm so enthusiastic about the ramps is that I think when the seniors a few years back did a survey, they found that there were around 1,000 people in the downtown core, and 12% of them were using walkers. So ramps are really, really critical, and I really appreciate the work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. Councillor Cox?
Thank you, Your Worship. Hi, Mark. I, further to Denise's, I'm wondering your recommended configuration where you have the ramp in the middle.
Not the middle where the specific, that still has to be detailed.
I'm wondering if we can go, instead of having 2 handicap parking, we can have 1 handicap parking and then a consideration sign that says small mothers with small children, something like that. Because the ramp is also good for them as far as strollers, so on and so forth. Technically, if someone handicap parked in it, we're not going to give them a ticket, but that consideration sign, and therefore we are doing a balancing act. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand that. I think that would work where we have parallel, non-parallel parking, where we have perpendicular or
Absolutely.
angled parking. But on the parallel, I don't think that would be, you wouldn't get any benefit from that.
No.
Again, back to Councillor Peterson's comment about the business community and what they would think about having, handicap and then a preferred spot, and then having.
It's not necessarily a preferred spot. It's a courtesy spot.
A courtesy spot for.
It's just a thought process.
Yeah,
We could put broccoli lovers if you want, but I think we should put
be a
mothers
great
with children. And I personally, so now back to,
Sorry, excuse me here. What about parents with children, not just mothers with children?
sorry, my apologies, 100%, Councillor Montgomery.
Thank you.
Parents. How about people? Small children. If you got a small child in your car, you get to park here. Back now towards the paint thing, can we go, instead of just white wheelchair, could we do blue in the smaller so that it's more visible but less paint? Suggestion.
Yeah, like, you're absolutely right. The more paint we put down, the more expensive each of these stalls are to build, first of all, and also to maintain, because every year we have to go out there and repaint them.
Right.
So
But I'm just thinking.
I think your correction about a different color that is possible. That's absolutely possible if that's what the council would like. What I'm hoping from council is that we get a standardized agreement from council and the community what it's supposed to look like. And then when our bylaw goes out there, everyone knows that's a handicap spot in Strathmore. And they know. And we don't have, here it's this way, and not somewhere else. That adds confusion, and we get non-conformance.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Councillor Montgomery?
I just wanted to follow up on Councillor Corbeil's point. I also read that same research paper that had that unfortunate child in it. So basically the idea was that like the door opens to the side and a ramp comes down to the side. So without, like having that access in the middle kind of wouldn't have done the one on the right much good. But yeah, and yeah, to your point though as well, I think we should try to minimize the amount of paint, like so just having a symbol probably, and then like the sign as well or something like that is what I would lean towards.
Thank you, Councillor Montgomery. And just for my final comments, I really like the idea of having the symbol on the pavement, but also the sign on the post, because 8 months out of the year, we have snow. And so we were finding, and especially downtown this year, that a lot of the snow was piled up onto the signs, and we couldn't see them. And a lot of people were calling and saying that they wish that they would have had a sign. And I like the curb ramps because we also have scooters and other motorized units in Strathmore with people scooting around downtown. And I think the ramps will really help them get in and out of their different spaces a little easier. I do have one gentleman who's been contacting me. His name's Stephen Green. He writes for one of the papers. I believe it's the Strathmore Times. And he has volunteered that if we ever need any consultation for any handicapped issues, that he would be available. So I'll pass his name on to you as well. Are there anything else, councillors? All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rue.
Thanks, Mark.
Motion, Your Worship? I have to make a motion.
I'd move that council accept the report, presentation as information with thanks. Look forward to hearing more.
Thank you. Do we need to vote? All in favor? Accepted. Okay, our next item on the agenda is number 8, committee reports. 8.1, committee reports. Do I have any councillors that would like to report? Oh, we have,
I move, Your Worship, that council accept the reports for information.
thank you, Councillor Cox. All in favor? That is carried. And item 8.2, reports from councillors from committees on which they sit.
Nothing, Your Worship.
Councillor Peterson?
I have just one thing, and that is that the Wheatland Lodge, where Councillor Cox and I sit there, looking very, very forward to their new 15-passenger van, which will be delivered imminently. And they believe it's going to make a significant difference in their lives, and the seniors from the lodge have worked incredibly hard to see this happen, and so congratulations to them.
Thank you. Councillor Corbeil?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple things. I was going to comment on the Emergency Preparedness Week, how successful it was. Great event. We went. My kids loved it. And then the other one was, I don't have anything to update for SWAT, except for they have extended their invitations to EMTs and to the fire department. It used to only just be the bylaw and the RCMP, and now they have broadened that, and that was huge. We had Kevin Link speak, and I think it'll go far. They're actually at a presentation at the high school tonight to see if they can go to the schools, but thank you.
I have nothing other than to just recognize that this week we are also designated as to be Seniors Week. And so we just say hello to all the seniors out there and hope that you're able to enjoy some of the many activities that have been going on in and around Strathmore. Councillor Montgomery, do you have anything to add?
Just that I'm really glad it's Seniors Week.
Thank you for your motion, Councilor Montgomery.
You're welcome.
And don't forget the walking tour on Saturday.
Yes, the walking tour.
Oh,
I
and
can speak to that.
yes, would you please, Councillor Peterson?
Thank you. So during Seniors Week, the Western District Historic Society, partnering with the Strathmore Drama Troupe, the Strathmore Theatre Players, they are doing a launch of the app, and there will be, and the just want to say great thanks to the town for taking on extra work to make this happen. And so we're looking forward to it, and there's a barbecue at the barn afterwards, after people complete the tour, from 11:30 to 1, out at the historic barn. And it all starts at the library at 9 o'clock Saturday morning. And so, yeah, we'll have some old-fashioned fun. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. And the other thing I need to add is that Councillor Sobel will be back on Thursday, tomorrow, and he has a food drive happening here at the town, starting at 9 a.m. for the food bank, the local food bank. So, on to the agenda, we have, oh, could I have a motion to accept? Oh, Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that council accept all of the reports for information.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Number 9, items directly related to council. Okay, not seeing any. We'll go to number 10, bylaws.
Councillor Peterson, did you have something?
Yeah, I wasn't quick enough.
Oh, sorry.
Too fast.
Items directly related to council, Council Peterson.
Well, I'm not sure where it fits, Your Worship. I just have are we at questions? No, I'll wait till 12.
Okay. Number 10, bylaws. Nothing. Urgent business. Seeing none, we'll move on to number 12, questions between councillors and council statements. Councillor Peterson?
Thank you, Worship. This is I noticed today when I was driving down to south on 817 that the land to the south of the golf course is now for sale, is ready for development. And I had an administrative inquiry 2 weeks ago regarding what I remember to be a deal between the original West Creek development where they were going to take drain the wetland on that land, and in exchange, drain it onto Pond 1, onto the Pond 1 side, in exchange for turning over property to us at the south end of Pond 1. It's really important that we know where that stands. If it never was, and I'm imagining it, then I apologize for the extra work, but I do think that there is some possibility that was the case, and if that exists.
James?
Through the chair, we have found some information. It's not complete, but we think we own, as related to those two admin requires, we seem to own more than we think we own. We still have to find some more information on it, but we are working quickly. I don't know if there's anything we're able to say right now, probably not.
That's okay, I understand
so,
it.
yeah,
I just
it's-
appreciate the
yeah,
diligence. Thank you.
we are on it. It's a very active
Thank you.
file. Thank you.
Good to know. Councillor Corbeil?
Thank you, Your Worship. One last comment or whatever. I attended the Let's Get Wrecked this weekend, the 3-on-3 ball hockey tournament. Huge success. I never heard a negative thing. It was great, and
Packed.
it was packed. It was ridiculous. I couldn't even get enough compliments. They said, let's do more. So huge success. It was a great event. Congratulations.
Congratulations to Tracy and her team. I hope you can pass that on.
I already told Lauren.
Number 13, administrative inquiries. Are there any?
Yes, Your Worship, we have 2 tonight from Councillor Corbeil. The first one is concerning a crosswalk at Wheatland Elementary School. Can we get a set of crosswalk with flashing lights at Wheatland Elementary School? Both junior and senior high schools have them, but not the elementary school. And the second item is as well about a crosswalk. Can we paint a crosswalk in Strathaven, specifically where the new pathway from Wheatland Elementary meets Stratford Crescent? There's also a park across from the cul-de-sac, and this comes out the same place as well.
Relevant to that.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson?
If I might ask a question relevant to that, to administration, I'm not sure. So we've ordered some extra lights, correct?
Correct. We are, we have a budget every year, an annual budget, and it's been approved by council for RRFDs,
yep.
rectangular rapid flashing devices. Even for me, that's hard to spit out. But what we are currently doing, and actually today my senior engineer was out with bylaw, looking at all the different intersections that they've identified as concerns. and is developing a similar plan that we're doing for downtown accessibility, identifying all the high priorities and ranking them, and then we're going to be bringing forward that to council so we can bring forward a complete list and then come up with, we can't do them all at once, but what we want to do is have a list and identify the priorities and then get those done. So hopefully that will help.
Just to follow up on that, and Councillor Corbeil's administrative inquiry, Wheatland Elementary School is in a unique situation. So the other two elementary schools in town have safety patrol. And Wheatland Elementary has a huge busing component, so they don't have a safety patrol. And, but
On the one
it's
side, they're not
only
allowed-
on the one
they're
side.
not allowed
They're not
to.
allowed to have it on the main drag. So that's why it becomes even more critical. And that because of the way their buses are right in front of their school, it does add another element. And I mean, they have twice the number of teachers out on supervision than a normal school would because of that configuration. But it really is necessary on that main drag.
I'm just thinking if that's the case, then we could put this at the front of the line, if that's amenable to council, because I think,
Your process, but just taking those things into
That,
consideration.
that's exactly, we'll
Yeah.
have a scoring system, but some of those things that we as administration are not the community, and you guys are related to the community, know specific details that may tweak. It might go from priority 3 to priority, or from priority 5 to priority 2 because of a tweak, what you just said there, exactly. So that's why we want to bring forward a whole plan, come up with the priorities, and then we'll figure out how much we can get done with the funding that we have every year, and that will be another aspect of it.
And that crosswalk at Crowther has been so successful in making sure that the kids are able to cross safely. It's made a big impact on the number of close misses and close calls, and I'd love to see it taken down the road to Wheatland.
Great.
Yeah, to
Thank
those
you.
guys. Thank you. That concludes our meeting for today, and thank you.
Well, actually, we have to go.
Oh, that's right. I moved to go on camera.
Move to go in camera. All in favor? Okay, we're going in camera at 7:46.